Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has met Border Czar Tom Homan and repeated his calls to end the campaign of retribution in the state. A federal judge has ordered acting ICE Director Todd Leons to appear in a Minnesota court on Friday to explain why an immigration detainee has not had a bond hearing in the court-ordered time frame. Meanwhile, President Trump's Border Czar Tom Homan has arrived in Minneapolis to lead the immigration crackdown. Trump says Homan will speak with local officials and describes recent events as a very sad situation. With Homan's arrival, Border Patrol Chief Gregory Bovino and some of his agents will leave the city on Tuesday. Joseph Babalola is an immigration lawyer. He joins me now from Atlanta, Georgia for this conversation. Thank you for being here. Let's begin with shootings, deadly shootings. Why always Minneapolis?
Well, that's a very good question. Minneapolis, because it just happens to be a city and also a state that is currently Democratic. And there are some political persuasions that is actually going on right now. It actually did not start in Minneapolis. At the time, it was Chicago. And at the time, it was another state. So basically, the Trump administration is just going state by state in an effort to kind of put the drumbeats of immigration front and center for the upcoming midterm elections.
Democrats have called for Trump to fire Homeland Security Secretary over the crackdown. Why did Trump allow the situation to degenerate to this point, in your view?
I don't think that was actually the intention. I think things just pretty much just went out of hand. If you trace things from the very beginning, this was meant to be an immigration crackdown, specifically in Minneapolis. And then it mushroomed into different things because people just stood their grounds. You know, they started going out on protest and one thing led to the other. And you had a couple of people that unfortunately lost their lives as a result of this crackdown. So you can see that things have slowly just kind of morphed from one thing to another. So that's pretty much what's going on right now.
Governor Walz has called for an end to what he described as campaign of retribution in the state. And the Border Patrol official and his agents are set to depart. Would you say too late?
It's not exactly too late. I would say it's late, but it's not too late. And the reason is I'd rather have the Trump administration actually do something than do nothing. And why do I say that? Because people's lives are at stake. There are businesses in Minnesota right now that have shut down for the past couple of weeks. They have absolutely no business. There are schools that have also been shut down as a result of all this. People's lives have been upended. So I think that it's about time that all the stakeholders actually sit down. As you're aware, there was a conversation that actually held between President Trump and also Governor Walz, and also between President Trump and the mayor of Minnesota as well. So all these conversations are going on, and our hope is that eventually there's a drawdown and Minnesota can actually go back to normal.
The way Trump himself has behaved has raised some criticism, but how do you think he and his administration has responded to criticism of its immigration enforcement tactics in Minnesota?
I think there are missed opportunities on both sides, and I think that if it had to be done again, I'm sure that they would do things differently. I think that in terms of the overhandedness, right, of all the agents and the tactics that was actually used, you can see that you probably went over the board. And I think that some of it maybe has to do with training. These are people that weren't actually trained, right, to be able to handle crowds, to be able to handle situations. And training really matters. So if you give a person firearms without the necessary training, there's a tendency for there to be mistakes. And in this case, there were deadly mistakes that was actually made. So I do feel that eventually there will be changes that will be made, and eventually there will be a drawdown, right, of all the agents that is all over Minnesota right now to the greater good of the entire state.
We know now that Border Czar has arrived in Minnesota. Tom Homan, what do you think his role should be now?
He has to be the adult in the room. He has to be able to speak directly to the governor, speak directly to the mayor, and speak directly to concerned individuals across the state and let them know and give them assurances that ICE is there for a specific purpose. I understand that, under the auspices of the Department of Homeland Security and definitely under the auspices of Department of Justice. There's nothing that they're actually doing really that is really unconstitutional. It just has to do with the way, the method, and the manner in which they're actually doing it. So it really has to be the adult in the room. It has to be very diplomatic, and it has to be able to go in, calm things down, and be able to return Minnesota to normal.
Joseph, thank you for speaking with us.